Welcome to RIoT Startup Spotlight, where we shine a light on the visionaries and disruptors who are shaping the future. I'm Jen Morgan, and today we bring you an exclusive interview with Robert Pinkas, founder and CEO, and Dale Hendon, Director of U.S. Operations with VisionCraft. Hi, guys. To begin, can you tell us a little bit about your company?
Hello, glad to be here. And we have a company for you based out of Czech Republic from Europe. We are concentrate on computer vision and detection of moving or static objects, whatever the shape and form it really is. And we have established that company about 5 years ago, but actively have been pursuing business for about past 2-3 years. And we focus in two specific areas. We focus on ITS, which is intelligent transportation systems. So we detect moving cars, bicyclists, pedestrians, etc., in public and private spaces. And we also focus with the second arm of our company on detecting human body movements and trying to help physiotherapists and patients to properly exercise at home.
Cool. So Robert, can you tell me a little bit about your past experience and what's your background? And then Dale, the same to you.
Okay. My background is kind of mixed between Czech Republic and USA. I've actually left Czech Republic when I was 16 years old and stayed some 15 years in US, completing some of my university studies and been working in an industry for cell phones and radios for Motorola and other places. And then going back, I started working for an AVG antivirus company, which became Avast and now became Gen. So a lot of IT and security applications in my background, and that's about it.
It's funny, I was at a CES in January and they had the tech graveyard and one of the very first Motorola phones was in it. So hopefully that wasn't what you developed.
Oh, no, no, no. I probably sold some of them, but
Dale, how about you?
Yeah, so I come from a varied background. So I started my career in campaigns and politics. So I work for public policy operations, direct with campaigns and direct with legislators, kind of the revolving door, if you will, for several years. So I spent a lot of time doing that. In 2013, I really got into this emerging technology in the political field called machine learning, and eventually carried that through to work as a data consultant for political campaigns. Transitioned out of that into economic development and entrepreneurship. I am a certified entrepreneurial development professional. So kind of translated my experience from the economic development field into the startup and entrepreneurship sector. And particularly with VisionCraft, having that background of the government sector and the public sector and understanding how our solutions are going to apply to our primarily government customers is vastly helpful.
That's really interesting. Robert, can you talk a little bit about the inspiration behind VisionCraft as the founder and CEO, and then a little bit about Dale, what your component is in all of that?
So little broader perspective on this is we were originally 3 founders, and then 2 of the founders met through our wives who are doctors, actually. And one day they decided that they will introduce us as well, and it ended up in us establishing a company where we're putting all of our family money into a startup, and then them being doctors are pretty much funding the startup that way. So I'm not so sure how happy they are about that, but we really we're a little bit, we call ourselves a little bit gray startup, meaning that we're older guys that have gone through many positions in life. The 2 founders have led teams of 300, 500 people in large corporations. The technical founder is a professor at university, has done a ton of grants for research on data security, etc. So we have gone through many things, and we figured, well, let's try something together and really just go for it ourselves rather than into a big educational or corporate structure. And we wanted to do something that is going to be quite impactful and helpful, not necessarily, and of course that's the drawback, not necessarily that it needs to make quick bucks right away, but something that is going to make an impact. And we believe that by monitoring a lot of moving objects out there, but in an anonymous way, really secure, no face detection and stuff like this, could really help people plan better and live in better society, in better places, etc. So we are doing things that we like to do. Being Czech, we're doing things technically perfect and wonderful, but what we're lacking as Czech people is, and that's why we have Dale, is that someone that can actually sell it and make other people believe in it. So this would be transitioned directly to you.
Well, and I was fortunate enough to meet, Robert and the VisionCraft team at the time whenever they were first looking at the U.S. market in 2021. And really, from my perspective, I've kind of been on the team since then. We've worked together while I was still doing economic development work. And I transitioned out of that about 2 years ago, and went directly into working with VisionCraft on bringing their product to market in the U.S. So on a day-to-day basis, my work looks like beachheading a company in the U.S., right? Starting from scratch and starting that company here, and finding markets and working to bring the solution to, again, our typical government customers.
That's interesting. I think definitely between like Robert, your background, and Dale, yours, I'm sure you all have encountered some challenges as startup founders and being a part of a startup. What are some of those challenges? And if you have overcome them, how did you overcome them?
So the number one challenge always is to find time and the money to be able to do what you like to do. I don't think we've overcome it completely. We keep overcoming it every single day, honestly. So it's mixing the nice and fun things with the necessary things, which are the green, ugly bills that we need to produce. But I think it's safe to say that the experience that we have had in the past business lives has helped us a lot, and we try to do things in a way that we try to introduce new things into the market relatively quickly. So we have some agile development principles in place, and we try to not develop everything and put it into a little drawer and then see how that goes. But in matter of weeks, we try to introduce something, find a customer for it, and get a paid POC out there and get a feedback, and then redo this over and over again. And this has played quite nicely. The problem with this, and this is what we're overcoming, is that we keep tweaking something to be nice and perfect, but we haven't created a mass market solution that we're able to just throw somewhere and say, okay, million people, let's just buy it right away. But we keep going into some iterations of the best state development and try to push it forward. So it's back and forth between development and the revenue challenge, but I think this is why we're also in US, honestly, because we have a great test market in Europe. We can afford to do that, but in US we have a huge opportunity to actually make an impact here and bring the revenues in, and that's why we work with Dale on this.
Well, and another challenge that we face on the U.S. side is, right, we're dealing with a emerging technology typically again in the government sector. And so the sales cycles tend to be very long. It takes a long time for government to get the money allocated to procure a solution, and candidly, just to understand it. And you have to align incentives very carefully with your government buyer in this scenario. So I think that as a bootstrapped operation, coming in and dealing with that long sales cycle and having to figure out how to source the hardware and do some of those other things in the US are certainly major challenges that we're working on, and you know, again, continuing to work on a daily basis.
And maybe one other thing is, as I mentioned, we are standing on two legs, meaning one thing is that we're doing the B2G business for government, but the other thing is the health tech is a completely different mechanic, not just from the product point of view, but also from the market point of view. So splitting the focus and pretty much splitting the teams. When you're a startup and you have 12 people, it's really an interesting challenge.
It's thin.
Yes, very.
Definitely a challenge. Well, in that vein, like, do you all have any mentors or role models who've inspired you while you've been building this business or have helped you kind of overcome some of those challenges?
It was interesting with the South by Southwest. We got the question yesterday. We were sitting on a panel. It was the same. It was the same thing. Here it's a little different. I said, well, my role model has been my grandfather, who was a great inventor and a really fun guy. And he said nothing's impossible, and he always showed it. You know, you can make anything. And back in Czech Republic during the communist years, you had to make everything because you couldn't buy it much. So that was the biggest thing. But me personally, honestly, we have since I've gone through a lot of companies and corporations, I have kept very good contact with some of the people that have grown out of this into investors, into really big entrepreneurs, and these are the people that I talk to regularly. So they're developer guys, university guys, CEOs, VC investors that have a lot of money, not for the small companies like us yet, but they are a great advisory group for different specific parts, because there is not one single thing that we always need help with, but there is a bunch of different fields that we need to tackle. And as being a little older entrepreneurs, we understand we don't know everything, so we're not afraid to ask. And I think it's a good thing that we have a pool of people that we can reach to and ask without paying a lot of money. The lawyers we have to pay, but all the other guys do it for free, so that's good.
Well, and there's so much. There's a lot of this peer-to-peer learning, I think, in VisionCraft, and that you know, it's about building your ecosystem, and it's, you know, role models. I've certainly had my role models in life, including, you know, parents and you know, other family. But you know, really, I think the secret sauce when it comes to role models or mentors is just really having a strong peer network, and don't approach your network in such a way where you are abusing it. You want to approach your network and support your other people in your ecosystem and those things. And that's where you really get an outpouring of, if you will, care for your startup ventures.
Yeah, one of the first things we teach in the RIoT Accelerator program is that you have 3 types of currencies: time, money, and people. And so you don't want to overspend on any of those, for sure. With that, like, what advice would you all give to aspiring entrepreneurs or future startup founders based on your own experiences and lessons learned?
Don't do it if you have 3 small kids. No, it's a joke, but
Like, that's a story for both of you.
No, so
Best jokes have a little bit of truth.
Yeah. Make sure you don't do it alone, just like Dale said. Don't be afraid to ask. If you are building something for the market, throw it at the market as soon as possible and get a harsh feedback. It's much better than building something that you're going to find out 2 years later it's not viable. We honestly are on a 7th iteration of the hardware and software solution that we have actually started with 3 years ago. We were thinking we're going to help create a better world by doing a sensor that's going to help detecting people how they park. But we left it after a couple of weeks only because it was a great idea, but we figured out no one is willing to pay for it. So why the hell develop something like this? So go out there, test, pilot, and not only don't be afraid to ask, but be quite aggressive at asking actually for money early on. We still are a bootstrap company. So we're very lucky as founders to have all the equity. Yes, that's a wonderful thing. But if we would have taken the time to ask for a couple $1 million to get us started, I think we would have been on the market already 2 years sooner than now, doing it in a gradual and 100% my own equity way.
And I would suggest that and it gets back to the mentor question a minute ago, your ecosystem really matters. And give a lot to that ecosystem. But just as Robert was inferring, take from that ecosystem too, and draw on that very, very, very much for your efforts.
Well, that's all the questions that I have for you all. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. I hope that you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, and hope to talk soon.